Hi, in this video we're going to talk about StumbleUpon and using StumbleUpon as a social networking site to drive traffic to your website. Now, if you haven't used StumbleUpon or you haven't heard about it, StumbleUpon can generate large amounts of targeted traffic for your website or your blog. So if your website or your blog has great content that people want to know about, then you'll definitely want to use StumbleUpon to get people to your website. You see, with StumbleUpon, you can not only generate the traffic that you need, but it's great for allowing you to build lots and lots of backlinks from StumbleUpon visitors who have websites. And it also allows you to establish a reader base for your blog very quickly. So, with that said, let's go to StumbleUpon.com. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google.com here. And you can see we've searched for StumbleUpon. Now, I'll come back to this later, but you'll notice that there are StumbleUpon icons every time I do a search on Google. And I'll show you in a minute what all that is about. This is what StumbleUpon looks like. As you can see, it's a play on words here. We're dealing with people who stumble upon different websites that have great content and people are interested in them. And people stumble upon them, they can write reviews about them, they can send links of the site to their friends, and they can do so much more. And as you can see here, it says StumbleUpon discovers websites based on your interests, learns what you like, and brings you more. So not only is it a great tool to find sites that you might like, but it's also a great social networking tool that allows you to find people who have similar interests with you. Now, the big difference between this and MySpace and Facebook is that MySpace and Facebook are mainly sites where you get to know people, join groups and things like that. And StumbleUpon's very similar, but it's much better, focuses more on that marketing aspect. So if I scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that we can see recently popular websites with StumbleUpon users. These are basically sites that StumbleUpon users have rated, reviewed, and things like that. So let's say, for example, that you want to review your own site and you get friends to review it as well. The more reviews you get and the more hits you get, the higher you can get on StumbleUpon. But at the same time, we'll show you a few tips and tricks that you can use to get a lot of traffic with StumbleUpon. Now, if you haven't used this before, the first thing that you want to do is you want to click Join StumbleUpon. And all you have to do is you have to fill out your email address, username and password, birth date, and information like that. Once you do that, it's going to forward you to a page to install the StumbleUpon toolbar. And whether you use Internet Explorer or Firefox, it'll work both ways. So we'll click on the download link here, and you'll see for our sake, since we're using Firefox, all you have to do is click Add to Firefox, and of course it adds it, install, and just go through that process. It takes about 1 or 2 minutes to do, and it's extremely easy to do. Now, if you want to see the toolbar in action, you'll notice this toolbar right on my browser right here. So that comes to the question, how can you use StumbleUpon to increase your website or blog traffic? Now, if you think about it, you have a website, for example, and what you want to do is you want to get the best quality content out of that website, because you only want to stumble upon the content of that website or of that blog that is the best. And because of that, people see that and they'll say, oh, well, this person must have a lot of other great content at their website. So basically you want to pick and choose that. Another trick that you could use is to give something valuable away for free. Now, when I say something free, I mean something valuable, something normally people would pay for. But instead of paying, they would get it for free from you. So this could be in the form of a ebook, video, product, piece of software, or even e-course that would be valuable. Because what you're doing is you're trying to build a readership, build a list full of people that are targeted on that specific niche. The more targeted you get, the higher your conversion rates will go up in the future. And one thing to keep in mind when you create your posts, make sure that you put a link back to your site or your blog so that people can find you. A lot of times people write, articles and this and that, but sometimes you forget the most simplest things, such as putting a link back to your site. Because a lot of people will say, oh, I like this content, but how do I get more information? Because a lot of times we're focused on creating that valuable, great content that we have our names on it. We assume people can find us, but that's not the case. So you'll really want to remember that. So this is what your StumbleUpon page looks like, and you can have recent reviews from friends, who are also stumbling upon. You could also find friends on StumbleUpon, whether you use Gmail, Yahoo Mail, AOL, or MSN. You can find people who are actually doing that. You can browse people, look for people, possibly in your same city. So that's a good social networking feature right there. You could also categorize, what people are interested in. Let's say, for example, music. And we can go deep down and see what interests people have in certain areas of music. And you can see what pages that they have viewed, or what videos that they viewed, or featured music sites that have been reviewed. So if you understand this whole concept, the reason why StumbleUpon is here is it's a very viral tool using social networking to allow you to find people who are similar to you and who are looking at websites that you might be interested in. Let's say, for example, here, if we're looking at this StumbleUpon toolbar, you can actually tell people, okay, I like it, I don't like it, this and that. So, or you can, move over, you can send this to your friends, the page to your friend. You can review this specific page, and you can also see who else reviewed this specific page. And by clicking that, we notice that 40 people have viewed this page. And it saves you time too. Think about it. If you go to that site and you think, okay, it's an XML sitemap creator, does it really work? So you have people here that have actually used it, and you can see that it works for people. So that's the same mentality that you want to use. You want to create a site, or you have a site, you want to review it, get other people to review it, and I'll actually show you a good way to exchange stumbles. So you review somebody else's and they review yours. The more stumbles you get, usually the more traffic you get. And most of the time it seems like a long manual process. Knowing me, I don't like to spend lots and lots of time in front of the computer. There's a site called Stumble Exchange. If I do a Google search on it, Exchange, it's spelled StumbleXchange, but you'll find it here. So if I go to the site, it's called Stumble Exchange, and it's a great way where you can exchange stumbles. So okay, I exchange, I do a stumble for you, review, you do a review for me. Sort of like what I was talking about earlier. So I definitely highly recommend that you sign up for that site here. Another nice feature that StumbleUpon and Facebook has is there's a Facebook application that you can install on Facebook that connects to StumbleUpon. So you can see the recently popular websites on StumbleUpon here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just like in the videos when I did MySpace and Facebook and the others, as far as the social networking goes, it's best if you expand your network outward. So what that means is you want to find as many people as possible who have interests or they have websites or links in relation to your website, to your blog, to your video sites. So let's take, for example, let's say you have a blog on email marketing. You can just type that in here, up here. You can just type in email marketing, and then you get the results here. So these are people who like email marketing sites, or even they might even have an email marketing site, or they're interested in that type of deal. And you can go through here and find sites that they've used or other people who are interested have used that might be great tools to add to your toolbox. So that's the whole mentality here, and you can get traffic simply by creating a profile, add something valuable, whether your website, or a blog. Start adding people that have similar interests to you. And do not forget about the StumbleUpon exchange system, because that helps a lot. And make sure you create a blog using StumbleUpon. And you want to do all that before you start adding people, because what happens is when people begin to see your site, they're going to view your profile and things like that. They're going to view your blog, websites. And it's sort of like a first impression. If they see that you have a site that might complement, their business or this and that, they're going to visit it. So with that said, go out and use StumbleUpon and make sure that you get your blog up and start stumbling upon other people's sites or friends' sites and have them stumble upon your site too, because you want to have that exchange going on.